Today we're talking about multiplying rational numbers. So remember, a rational number is a fraction or decimal that has an end or a repeating pattern. And we are going to be multiplying some numbers that are just whole numbers, some are integers, and some are decimals or fractions. And before we start, we're going to go over the rules for multiplying and dividing integers, because I just want to refresh your memory on that. So we just finished adding and subtracting integers, where if the signs are the same, you add, and the answer keeps the sign. If the signs are different, you subtract, and the answer takes, yes, sign of the bigger number. So now the rules for multiplying and dividing are a little bit different. So if we have one negative, write these rules down, or an odd number of negatives, the answer is negative.
Wait, is that like a rule?
It is a rule, yes. And this is just a refresher rule, okay? Hopefully you remember this from last year. And then the second rule is if you have two negatives or an even number, the answer is what?
Positive.
Yes, positive. Good. Okay? So those are the rules we're going to use today to help us with these problems. So let's go ahead and do the first few examples. So negative 6 times 3. How many negatives do I have? 1. So my answer is going to be negative. Good. And then 6 times 3 is 18. So negative 18 is the answer. Good. How about number 5? 5 times negative 8. 1 negative, so the answer is going to be negative. And 5 times 8 is 40. It is negative 40. Excellent. Hold on. Elizabeth?
So it's almost the same alphabet that as we've been doing, just like different.
Yeah. So we were adding and subtracting, now we're multiplying and dividing. So the rules are...
different. I was like, there's something here.
Yeah, the rules are a little bit different. Okay, so number 6, now we have decimals. How many negatives do I have? 0. So the answer is going to be what? 10.35, and it's going to be positive. Good. So 4.5 times 2.3 is 10.35. Copy these in your math journal. We'll be right back. Okay, for 8 and 9, we're going to multiply actual fractions. So remember the rules when we're multiplying fractions. You just multiply the top numbers together, and you multiply the bottom numbers together. So what is 5 times negative 2? Negative 10. And then 3 times 7? Yes, good. 21. And that's all there is to it. So we'll do the same for the next one. Multiply the top numbers, then multiply the bottom numbers. Negative 4 times 7 is how much? Good. Negative 28. And then 9 times 15?
Wait, I thought that was not. Oh, I thought that was like a G.
Oh. I will take your word for it because I did not know that off the top of my head. Good. Okay, so negative 28 over 135 will be our answer for that one. And that's all there is to multiplying fractions. Copy this down, and we're going to come back with one more section. Okay, for this section, it says simplify each expression. So we are going to look at what they're asking us to do and then just simplify it. So number 10 has 5s times negative 6t. When I am multiplying variables like this, I'm going to multiply the numbers together. So what is 5 times negative 6?
Negative 30.
Excellent. And then the letters I'm just going to write next to each other in ABC order. And I use a cursive T so it doesn't look like a plus sign. All right, that's all there is to it. Multiply the numbers, then write the letters next to each other. Now, number 11 has an extra step because it has that plus sign in the middle. So, order of operations says we're going to multiply or divide first, then add or subtract. So, the first thing I'm going to do is 6x times negative 7y. What is 6 times negative 7?
42. Negative 42.
Nice. Negative 42, and then just write the variables one after the other. And then I'm going to bring down this other part over here. Now, since my variables are exactly the same on both problems, they both have x, y, I can combine these terms. There's a plus sign in the middle, so I'm going to add them. But it says negative 42 plus negative 15. What does that equal?
Hold on.
42 plus negative 15.
Negative 57.
That's right. Negative 57, and then write your x, y. So I lied, actually. I made a mistake. This was not, like last section was not the last section. This one is actually the last section. So in this section, the directions gives us some values for m, n, and p. M is negative 2/3, n is 1/2, and p is negative 3 3/4. And then it gives us some problems and says evaluate the expressions. So when it says evaluate, that means we have to solve something. So all I'm going to do is bring down my 6, and instead of m, I'm going to plug in what they told me m equals, which is negative 2/3. And now I need to multiply those two because parentheses means multiply. But you'll notice my 6 is a whole number. So in order to multiply, I can draw that imaginary 1 underneath. And now I have top and bottom numbers that match. So I'm just going to multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. So what is 6 times negative 2?
Hold on. 12.
Negative
12.
Yes, negative 12.
Wait, what?
Over 3.
Because it's 6 times negative 2.
So wait, that's it?
And then 1 times 3 is 3. Well, that would be it, but this one I see can be reduced.
Do we have, so if we don't use it on the test or something,
It'll be negative.
Yeah, so
Negative 4 over.
just negative 4. If you divide negative 12 by 3, you get negative 4. So we can just break that down to negative 4. It's easier. On the test, I give you choices. So you're going to have like multiple choice. So I think it'll be clear to know if you have to reduce it or if I'll accept the fraction. You know what I mean? Okay. I'm actually going to move number 13 over because it got mixed up there. So 13 says, what? I forgot. N times P. Okay, before I solve 13, I am going to take this mixed number that they gave me for P and turn it into an improper fraction. Because I can't multiply it when it's a mixed number. So how do we turn it into an improper fraction?
Negative 3 to the top and the bottom. Times it.
I think you're on the right track. So I'm going to multiply the bottom number by the big number. Ignore this negative for now. Ignore. So 4 times 3 is what? 12, and then I'm going to add the top number, 12 plus 3, 15, and keep the bottom number the same. What's the bottom number?
4.
4. And now I'm going to bring that negative back over for my final answer.
For the bottom number?
For the whole fraction. 15 over 4 is negative because 3 3/4 was negative. Okay, so all I did was turn that mixed number into an improper fraction. Now I can put it in my equation in number 13 and solve. So n is 1/2, and I'm going to use parentheses. And then my p is negative 15 over 4. So again, multiply the top numbers, then multiply the bottom numbers. 1 times negative 15 is what? Negative 15. And 2 times 4? Good. And that is it. Yes, Elizabeth.
Okay, so.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, email me if you have any questions, and I will see you next time.